3, 2, 1.
Imagine a place where the desert meets the water, where golden sands stretch as far as the eye can see, touching the brilliant blue of a vast lake. This is the setting for one of Egypt's most awe-inspiring treasures, the great temples of Abu Simbel. Located in the south of Egypt in a region once known as Nubia, these temples stand proudly on the western bank of Lake Nasser. They are not built in the way we might think of a building with bricks and mortar. Instead, they were hewn directly from the living rock of a mountainside, a feat of engineering and artistry that boggles the mind even today. The sheer scale is breathtaking, a statement of power designed to be seen from miles away by anyone traveling up the Nile. The first thing that greets you is the colossal facade of the Great Temple. 4 gigantic statues of a seated pharaoh, each over 20 meters tall, stare out across the water with an air of eternal calm and authority. These are not just statues, they are the mountain itself, given the form of a king. The detail is astonishing, from the intricate carvings of the royal headdress to the powerful muscles of the legs. At the feet of these giants are smaller, yet still life-sized, figures representing the pharaoh's beloved wife, Queen Nefertari, his mother, and some of his many children. It's a family portrait on a divine scale, a message that this ruler's power extends not just over his land, but through his very lineage. Nearby, a second smaller temple adds to the wonder of the sight. This one is dedicated to the goddess Hathor, and in a beautiful tribute is personified by Queen Nefertari. Its facade is just as remarkable, with standing statues of the king and queen carved into the rock face, each given equal height and prominence. This was an incredibly rare honor for a queen in ancient Egypt, showing the deep love and respect Ramesses II held for Nefertari. The entire complex was designed to overwhelm, to impress upon all who saw it the might of the Egyptian empire and the divine status of its ruler. It was a frontier post, a place of worship, and a piece of political propaganda, all carved from a single cliff face. Walking towards these temples feels like stepping back through millennia. The air is dry and warm, and the silence of the desert is broken only by the gentle lapping of the lake's waters. You can almost hear the echoes of ancient rituals, the footsteps of priests, and the awestruck whispers of visitors from a bygone age. The sheer ambition of carving these structures from the solid rock is hard to comprehend. Every detail, every hieroglyph, and every statue had to be meticulously planned and executed by countless skilled artisans, chipping away at the stone to reveal the pharaoh's grand vision. Abu Simbel is not just a temple, it is a testament to human determination and the desire to create something that would last for eternity. The mastermind behind this monumental creation was none other than Ramesses II, often known as Ramesses the Great. He was one of ancient Egypt's most powerful and long-reigning pharaohs, ruling for an astonishing 66 years during the 13th century BC. Ramesses was a master builder, a brilliant military strategist, and a genius of self-promotion. His reign was a golden age of prosperity and construction, and he left his mark all over Egypt, from the grand halls of Karnak to the Ramesseum, his mortuary temple. But Abu Simbel, located far to the south in Nubia, was arguably his most personal and audacious project, a declaration of his divine power on the very edge of his empire. The primary purpose of building Abu Simbel was twofold. First, it was a powerful political statement aimed at Egypt's southern neighbors, the Nubians. By carving this immense temple into the mountainside, Ramesses was demonstrating the absolute reach and might of his rule. It was a clear message. This land belongs to Egypt, and its pharaoh is a god on earth. The statues themselves were designed to intimidate and inspire awe in anyone sailing up the Nile, reinforcing Egyptian dominance in this resource-rich region. It was a frontier marker that could not be ignored, a permanent symbol of Egyptian authority deep in foreign territory. Beyond its political function, Abu Simbel was a sacred place of worship. The Great Temple was dedicated to a quartet of powerful gods: Amun-Ra, the king of the gods; Ra-Harakti, a sun god; Ptah, the creator god of Memphis; and crucially, a deified version of Ramesses II himself. By placing his own image alongside the most important deities of the state, Ramesses was elevating his status from a mere mortal king to that of a living god. This was the ultimate expression of pharaonic power, blurring the lines between the earthly and the divine. The temple was not just built in his honor, it was a sanctuary where he himself was one of the gods to be worshipped. The construction of such a place was an immense undertaking that would have required thousands of workers, from skilled stone carvers and artists to laborers who did the heavy work of removing tons of rock. They worked with simple tools, bronze chisels, wooden mallets, and stone pounders, to painstakingly shape the mountain according to the pharaoh's will. It was a project that likely took decades to complete, a testament to the incredible organization and resources of the Egyptian state under Ramesses II. Every stroke of the chisel was part of a grand design to ensure that the pharaoh's name and his divine essence would be remembered and revered forever. What makes the great temple of Abu Simbel truly magical is not just its colossal size, but a remarkable secret hidden within its design, an extraordinary astronomical alignment. Twice a year, something spectacular happens. The temple was precisely oriented so that on just 2 specific dates, the rays of the rising sun could penetrate the deep, dark interior of the sanctuary. The entrance faces east, perfectly positioned to catch the first light of dawn. This beam of light travels more than 60 meters down the main hall, passing between rows of imposing statues of the pharaoh until it reaches the Holy of Holies, the most sacred chamber at the very back of the temple. This incredible event, often called the Sun Festival, illuminates the statues of 3 of the 4 gods seated in the sanctuary. The sunlight bathes the figures of the sun gods Amun-Ra and Ra-Harakti in a golden glow. It also shines directly upon the statue of the deified Ramesses II, reinforcing his connection to the sun and his status as a god on earth. This was a powerful piece of religious theater, a moment when the pharaoh's divine nature was visibly confirmed by the heavens themselves. It was a spectacle that would have filled ancient worshippers with profound awe, proving that their king was truly one with the gods. Intriguingly, one statue in the sanctuary remains forever in shadow. The 4th figure, representing Ptah, the god of creation and the underworld, is never touched by the sun's rays. This was entirely intentional. As a god associated with darkness in the realm of the dead, it was fitting that his statue should remain cloaked in perpetual gloom, while his celestial companions were bathed in light. This careful planning demonstrates the sophisticated understanding of astronomy and theology possessed by the ancient Egyptian architects. They didn't just build a temple, they created a dynamic cosmic clock, where light and shadow played a vital role in the religious narrative. The 2 dates of this solar alignment are believed to correspond to significant events in the pharaoh's life. It is widely thought that one date, around February 22nd, marks the anniversary of his accession to the throne, celebrating the start of his reign. The other date, around October 22nd, is believed to celebrate his birthday. On these days, the temple would come alive with pilgrims and priests who gathered to witness the miracle of the sun god visiting the inner sanctum. For them, it was living proof of the divine order, a moment when the barrier between the human world and the world of the gods became beautifully and brilliantly thin. For over 3,000 years, Abu Simbel stood undisturbed, a silent guardian on the banks of the Nile. Its grandeur was eventually lost to the shifting sands of the desert, and it remained largely buried and forgotten by the outside world for centuries. It was not until 1813 that the Swiss explorer Jean-Louis Burckhardt stumbled upon the top of the main temple's facade peeking out from the sand. It took several more years before the great explorer Giovanni Belzoni was able to clear the entrance and reveal the wonders hidden within. The temples were rediscovered, but in the mid-20th century they faced a new and far more dangerous threat: permanent destruction by water. The source of this threat was a modern marvel of engineering, the Aswan High Dam. In the 1960s, the Egyptian government began construction of the dam to control the annual flooding of the Nile, generate hydroelectricity, and create a reliable water supply for agriculture. While the project promised immense benefits for modern Egypt, it came at a terrible cost. The creation of the dam would form a massive reservoir, Lake Nasser, which would submerge a huge area of southern Egypt and northern Sudan. This included the ancient land of Nubia and its countless archaeological treasures, chief among them the magnificent temples of Abu Simbel. The world watched in horror at the prospect of losing such a priceless piece of human history forever. The rising waters of the Nile threatened to swallow the temples whole, erasing Ramesses' legacy from the face of the earth. This impending disaster sparked an unprecedented international response. UNESCO, the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, launched a global appeal to save the monuments of Nubia. It was a call to arms for archaeologists, engineers, and governments around the world, asking them to come together to protect this shared heritage. The campaign was a landmark moment, recognizing that some treasures are so important they belong not just to one nation, but to all of humanity. The challenge was immense. How could anyone possibly save two massive temples that had been carved directly out of a solid rock mountain? The initial ideas ranged from building a protective dam around the temples to somehow encasing them in a giant, transparent underwater viewing chamber. However, none of these proposals seemed practical or could guarantee the long-term survival of the structures. A far more audacious and radical solution was needed. The final decision was nothing short of extraordinary. The temples would have to be moved. They would be painstakingly cut apart, transported to higher ground, and reassembled piece by piece. The plan to relocate Abu Simbel was, honestly, one of the most ambitious archaeological rescue operations in history. It was a project of staggering complexity and scale, requiring this fascinating combination of ancient knowledge and cutting-edge 20th century technology. So the first step was to build a temporary cofferdam to hold back the steadily rising waters of Lake Nasser, which bought the engineers and workers some precious time. With the site protected, the delicate and, well, monumental task of dismantling the temples could finally begin. The team of international experts knew they had to work with surgical precision to avoid damaging the ancient structures. This wasn't like moving bricks, it was like, disassembling a mountain. The process was painstaking. The temples were carefully cut into more than 1,000 massive blocks, with some pieces weighing as much as 30 tons. Specialized saws were used to slice through the sandstone, and engineers carefully planned each cut to be along inconspicuous lines so that the seams would be almost invisible once reassembled. The 4 colossal statues of Ramesses II at the facade presented an enormous challenge. Their faces, in particular, had to be handled with extreme care to preserve their serene and powerful expressions. Each block was meticulously numbered and catalogued so that it could be put back in its exact original position. Once a block was cut free, it was gently lifted by giant cranes and transported to its new home. The chosen location was a specially prepared artificial hill, about 65 meters higher and 200 meters back from the original site. This new location was carefully landscaped to mimic the original setting on the banks of the Nile. The reassembly was like solving the world's largest and heaviest jigsaw puzzle. Piece by piece, the temples were put back together. To support the structures and recreate the feeling of being inside a mountain, 2 enormous concrete domes were built, over which the original rock and landscape were restored. The most critical test of the project's success was whether the architects could preserve the temple's famous solar alignment. Using a combination of ancient observation and modern calculations, the engineers worked to orient the temple perfectly on its new site. The entire world held its breath. In 1968, the project was completed, and on the first Sun Festival in its new location, the rays of the rising sun once again pierced the darkness of the sanctuary, illuminating the statues of the gods and the pharaoh, just as they had for over 3 millennia. The rescue had been a resounding success, a triumph of international cooperation and human ingenuity. To step inside the great temple of Abu Simbel is to enter a world where the pharaoh walks among the gods. The interior is a vast hypo-style hall, a forest of colossal pillars that immediately commands your attention. These are not ordinary columns, they are 8 enormous statues of Ramesses II himself, depicted in the guise of Osiris, the god of the afterlife. Standing over 10 meters tall, they face each other across the central aisle, creating a powerful and intimidating pathway that leads deeper into the temple's sacred heart. The pharaoh is shown with the crook and flail, symbols of kingship and Osiris, reinforcing the idea that he is the bridge between the mortal world and the divine. The walls and ceilings of the hall are covered in vibrant and detailed reliefs, a rich tapestry of religious and historical scenes. These carvings are not mere decorations, they are a visual narrative of the pharaoh's greatness. One of the most famous series of reliefs depicts Ramesses's military prowess at the Battle of Kadesh, a major conflict fought against the Hittite Empire. Here we see the pharaoh single-handedly charging into the enemy in his chariot, his arrows flying as he smites his foes. While historians know the battle was more of a tactical draw, the reliefs at Abu Simbel presented as an overwhelming personal victory for Ramesses. a piece of masterful royal propaganda designed to cement his reputation as an invincible warrior king. As you move further into the temple, the rooms become smaller and darker, increasing the sense of mystery and sanctity. Beyond the main hall lies a smaller hall with 4 pillars, also decorated with religious scenes of the king making offerings to the gods. This chamber served as a space for priests to prepare for the sacred rituals. Finally, at the very back of the temple is the innermost sanctuary, the Holy of Holies. This was the most sacred space where the 4 cult statues of Ptah, Amun-Ra, the deified Ramesses II, and Ra-Harakti were seated, waiting for the biannual visit from the sun's rays. Only the high priest and perhaps the pharaoh himself were ever allowed to enter this sacred room. The smaller temple, dedicated to the goddess Hathor and Queen Nefertari, offers a more intimate but equally beautiful experience. Hathor was the goddess of love, beauty, music, and joy, and the temple reflects these qualities. The pillars inside are topped with carvings of her face, known as Hathor heads. The reliefs on the walls show Nefertari in a role of unprecedented importance, worshipping the gods alongside her husband. In one scene, Hathor is shown crowning Nefertari, a powerful symbol of the queen's divine status. This temple is a testament to the deep affection Ramesses held for his great royal wife, immortalizing her not just as a queen, but as a goddess in her own right. Abu Simbel stands as one of the most powerful and enduring testaments to the might of the ancient Egyptian empire. In the age of Ramesses II, Egypt was at the zenith of its power, with its influence stretching from Syria in the north deep into Nubia in the south. This temple complex was a physical embodiment of that power, a bold and unmissable statement on the southern frontier. For any Nubian chief or foreign trader traveling north along the Nile, the sight of these 4 colossal pharaohs carved from a mountain would have been an unforgettable and intimidating experience. It communicated without a single word that this was the domain of a god-king whose authority was absolute. The temple also reveals the profound importance of religion in ancient Egyptian society, where politics and piety were inextricably linked. The pharaoh was not just a political leader, he was the chief priest of every god and the living link between humanity and the divine realm. By dedicating the temple to the great state gods and including himself among them, Ramesses II was fulfilling his royal duty to maintain Ma'at, the cosmic order of truth, justice, and harmony. The elaborate rituals, the precise solar alignment, and the stunning artwork were all part of a system designed to please the gods and ensure the continued stability and prosperity of Egypt. Furthermore, Abu Simbel is a monument to the individual ambition and ego of one of history's most memorable rulers. Ramesses the Great had a deep-seated desire for immortality, not just in the afterlife, but in the memory of future generations. He built on a scale grander than almost any pharaoh before or after him, and he inscribed his name on countless monuments, sometimes even usurping the works of his predecessors. Abu Simbel was his masterpiece, a place where his legacy was literally carved in stone for all time. The fact that we are still talking about him and marveling at his creations over 3,000 years later proves that, in this ambition, he was spectacularly successful. The very existence of the smaller temple for Queen Nefertari provides a fascinating insight into the personal life of the pharaoh. While most royal monuments focused solely on the king, this beautiful temple is a lasting tribute to love. The inscription over its entrance reads, "A temple of great and mighty monuments, for the great royal wife Nefertari Meritmut, for whose sake the very sun does shine." This declaration, combined with the equal-standing statues on the facade, elevates Nefertari far beyond the typical role of a queen. It shows a partnership and a deep personal bond, making Abu Simbel not just a monument to power and religion, but also a timeless and romantic ode to a beloved queen. The legacy of Abu Simbel for people today is multifaceted, stretching far beyond its historical and archaeological significance. First and foremost, the incredible rescue operation of the 1960s created a powerful new precedent for global heritage preservation. The success of the UNESCO campaign demonstrated that the world could unite to protect its shared cultural treasures, regardless of national borders. This led directly to the creation of the UNESCO World Heritage List, a program that now helps to protect hundreds of culturally and naturally significant sites around the globe, from the Great Wall of China to the Galapagos Islands. Abu Simbel was not just saved, it became the catalyst for a global conservation movement. For the nation of Egypt, Abu Simbel is a profound source of national pride and a cornerstone of its modern identity. It is a tangible link to a glorious past, a reminder of a time when Egypt was one of the world's greatest civilizations. The temples are a major draw for tourism, which is a vital part of the country's economy. Visitors who come to see Abu Simbel contribute to the livelihoods of countless Egyptians, from tour guides and hotel staff to the local artisans who sell their crafts. The temples are more than just ancient stones. They are a living part of Egypt's present and future, connecting the past to the prosperity of today. The story of Abu Simbel also serves as a powerful educational tool, offering invaluable lessons in history, engineering, art, and astronomy. For students and scholars, the site is a rich library of information. The detailed reliefs provide insights into ancient warfare, religious beliefs, and the daily life of royalty. The architecture itself is a case study in ancient engineering genius, while the solar alignment continues to fascinate astronomers and historians alike. The relocation project is studied by modern engineers as a masterpiece of problem-solving. Abu Simbel teaches us about the ingenuity of the past and the remarkable things we can achieve when we work together in the present. Moreover, the story of its near destruction and subsequent rescue carries a poignant environmental message. The building of the Aswan High Dam highlights the complex relationship between human development and cultural preservation. It forces us to ask difficult questions about progress and its costs. While the dam brought many benefits, it also resulted in the loss of a vast swath of Nubian heritage that could not be saved. The story of Abu Simbel is therefore also a story of what was lost, serving as a permanent reminder of the importance of considering the cultural and environmental impact of large-scale development projects, a lesson that is more relevant today than ever before. Today, Abu Simbel continues to be a place of profound wonder, captivating the imagination of everyone who makes the journey to its remote location. To stand before the colossal statues of Ramesses II is to feel a sense of humility and awe. Their sheer size and the power they exude are just as impactful now as they must have been 3 millennia ago. Visitors often speak of a palpable sense of peace and timelessness at the site, especially during the quiet hours of sunrise or sunset when the desert light paints the temples in hues of gold and rose. It is a place that transcends time, connecting the modern visitor directly with the grandeur of the ancient world. The biannual Sun Festival remains a major draw, attracting crowds of tourists, photographers, and spiritual seekers who gather in the pre-dawn darkness to witness the spectacle. As the sun's first rays creep across the temple floor to illuminate the sacred statues, there is a collective gasp of wonder. In that moment, it's easy to understand the power this event held for ancient worshippers. It is a living piece of history, a ritual that has survived for thousands of years, thanks to the combined genius of ancient priests and modern engineers. This continuation of an ancient tradition makes a visit to Abu Simbel a truly unique and unforgettable experience. The journey to Abu Simbel, whether by a short flight from Aswan or a convoy across the desert, is an adventure in itself, adding to the mystique of the destination. Emerging from the vast empty expanse of the Sahara to be confronted by these magnificent structures feels like discovering the lost world. It is a pilgrimage for lovers of history, art, and human achievement. People come from every corner of the globe, their different languages and cultures united by a shared sense of wonder as they gaze upon the Pharaoh's eternal home. It is a testament to the universal appeal of great art and a powerful story well told. In the end, Abu Simbel is more than just a temple or an archaeological site. It is a story of ambition, love, devotion, and survival. It is the story of a great pharaoh who wished to live forever and in many ways succeeded. It is the story of a global community that refused to let a treasure be lost to the waters of progress. And it is the story of light and shadow, both in the literal sense of its solar alignment and in the metaphorical sense of its journey from being lost in the darkness of the sands to being saved for the light of the modern world. Abu Simbel is and will remain a true wonder for the ages.